So I'm not about.
Oh, yeah. You know that,
When you, Arnie, after you visit with these.
All this, so I dug out all those old slides a year or more ago that I made, and I started putting them together. And when I got to trying to find the hot water, I couldn't find it. I looked. Finally, I looked down in the bottom of my
I had developed
case.
only 3 or 4 instead of 5 rolls of film.
There was my roll pen money.
So I lose his camera, I lose his slides, I lose his...
Kodak. I couldn't get in.
It's a wonder I'm still around.
And so they said,
You must have some redeeming value.
Everybody
right over there.
Yeah.
We're trying to spread the word, but you all give it for That's correct.
When you have a chance, just wave at me and I'll sit there with you.
okay.
Well, there's a lot of reasons, obviously. It's going to take me about 10 minutes to get things set up, so, okay. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Put it on the film. Now, on the film, it's the same as tape, but people don't have projectors. And that's expensive. So the tape is fine. You make a mistake.
Everybody's got a video.
Yeah, not everybody got one. So you make a tape that if it's not good, you just redo it. But you can't do that with a little roll of film. It'll last about less than 2 minutes. It costs you $100.
Wait.
And a little bit of personal history as far as how you got involved in this, and then the basics of spoon plugging and whatnot. To see where it goes. So you've been doing this for about how long?
Forever.
Half a century? Can I say that?
It's funny when you think in terms of spoon plugging. I started back in the 20s. That's quite a long time ago. That thing working?
No, we're not ready to fight yet.
Hey-oh.
Folks, there's a lot of celebrities in the fishing world these days, but there's very few legends, and I have the opportunity here in Chattanooga, Tennessee, to talk to one of those legends from Hickory, North Carolina, Mr. Buck Perry. Mr. Perry, I appreciate you being on the Dixie Angler.
I'm glad to be here.
You have been in the fishing business, you might say, been kind of a missionary in structure fishing. A lot of people call you the father of structure fishing for over half a century. How did you start developing these theories that have led to, a lot of people say, the modern way of taking good strings of bass and whatnot?
Well, I could say it in many ways, but back when I was a teenager, one of the main things I saw was that a lot of the theories or information you got on fishing was, as far as I was concerned, was a bunch of garbage. So I started doing my own investigation, finding out what makes a fish stick and what I must do to catch it. I was in the educational field, and I did after graduate work. I did a little coaching and a little teaching in high school, and then I went to the university and was teaching there. Well, after World War II, I'd kind of gotten fed up with that type of thing. So I had a little loose time, but in the meantime, I had developed what I thought was the correct way of fishing, which I put a word to, spoon plugging. Then I made me a tool to allow me to do the things that was necessary for me to catch fish. Whenever I went fishing, and whenever or where, it didn't make no difference to me.
Let me interrupt you a second. Back in those days, it was unusual to see anyone fishing for bass in more than 3 or 4 feet of water, wasn't it?
Well, it's kind of unusual to see them fishing in more than 3 or 4 feet of water today if you look around. They're beating the shorelines to death. They're beating the weed beds to death. And most of the time, they're fishing where they ain't. You can't catch them if you fish where they ain't. So then, in the educational field, as it's hard to say, so after World War II, I just had a little free time. I didn't go back to university after being in Europe. I just had enough to teach it. So pretty soon, doing a lot of fishing, had a little time. Pretty soon, I was talking about the education again. I got back in the education. So it wasn't too long. I found myself back in the education field, teaching fishing. And what I called it was that that's what I call spoon plugging. Now, let me put it this way. What people ask me, says, what's spoon plugging? Now, don't get the spoon plug is the tool that I made. That's the lure. They call it a lure. But spoon plugging is an education that fishing success is predicated on knowledge. Knowledge is the key to success within anything, but especially in fishing, because there's so much old wives' tale and misunderstanding about what made a fish tick or how you live in the environment and so on. So I kind of set up this thing of what I call spoon plugging and started teaching it. If you ask me what spoon plugging means, I could give you several interpretations. One would be, if you and I want to consistently catch fish whenever and wherever we go, and a lot of big ones, we have to know what makes that old fish tick. His environment, how he lives, actually how he lives, how he reacts to weather and water conditions, and etc. Then we've got to know what you and I must do to put him on string. Do. I didn't say what we buy. I said what we do, because knowledge is key to success. Now that's one interpretation of what spoon plugging is. The next one I could say is this: if you and I want to consistently catch fish, whenever and wherever we go, we got to be at the right place at the right time, fishing in the right night. Now that covers a lot of ground. Now to put it another way, if you and I want to consistently catch fish whenever and where we go fishing, we have to spend our time where we have the best chance. In broad figures, that's what it is. Another thing that I keep telling people, I know where all the fish are. I know where the fish are out there in the lake. I can go any lake in the United States, or Canada, or Europe, and I know exactly where the fish are. They're either in the deep water, in the shallow water, or somewhere between. Now what this does is that I teach deep water, and let me make it this way. When I said the deep water is the home of the fish in 1928 to my daddy, he threatened to throw me in the lake. If I said that to most of the fishermen today, they'd react just about the same way.
Now, is this the reason that most fishermen catch most of the fish in the spring and fall? Because that's when the fish in shallow water.
They're starting to move so to shallow. And most people get them in the spawning season, when the fish move towards spawning.
So spoon plugging is really a year-long technique. You can catch fish all year long.
I don't care what it is. We just fished in Florida in the hot weather and said we couldn't fish. You ought to see what some of these spoon pluggers did. Never saw so many 10, 12-pound bass, 11-pound bass. So let me tell you what it is, the basis of it. The basic guideline that the spoon plugger has. First is, the deep water is the home of the fish. This is where he spends the major part of his time. It's the only sanctuary that he has from a hostile and changing environment. He can't go up in the woods and hide behind a tree. So the deep water is the only sanctuary that he has. And so it's this way. You have to accept that. His home, where he spends most of the time, is not in a weed bed. It's not on a stump. It's not beside some rock. It's not in the shallow. It's in the deep water. If you're fishing an area of the lake, the sanctuary where the fish spend the mass of their time is in the deepest water in that area. Normally when in this deep water, the fish will be so deep or so dormant that you and I can't, or you and I have very difficult even locating or catching. We're saved due to the fact that periodically, once or twice a day, on a normal day, he will become active. He may then move towards shallows. Maybe. During this activity period, as we get down there, we can pop it. But it normally so deep or so dormant, you and I have problems with it. But we'll save the fact that periodically, once or twice a day, he will come active and may move down toward the shallows. Now we're saved again because he just doesn't move from his sanctuary depth just any direction. He used features at the bottom, which I call structure breaks and break lines, to show him the way to the shallows, just like a road map. It's a path, so to speak. Now, these things exist at certain areas in a body of water. So if we know the deep water is home of fish, periodically he will move toward the shallows. When he moves toward the shallows, he's going to move a certain route. Now, how far he goes on that route toward the shallows is dependent on or controlled by the weather and water conditions at that particular time. Most of the time, it isn't good enough for the reason what I call the shore that means that you stay either in the deep or somewhere on the route to the shallows. If you're not on this route, or if you're not in the deep, and he doesn't move to the shorelines, and you're keeping the shoreline dead, you're not going to catch any fish. So the spoon plugger can test this thing out pretty quick. He can test the shallows on the troll. If you don't soon get a fish, you know they're not there. Then he can start downstairs, but you got to know where to go downstairs. Now let me come back to that basic outline. How far he goes on this migration route is controlled or dependent upon the weather and water at that particular time. Most of the time it isn't good. You move up to a certain spot and then you turn around and go back down the stairs. The spots that he will travel, when the fish move on structure, he will stop at sections on the structure. The structure is the bottom of the lake. A lot of these pro guys call a structure, they call a tree stump or a bush structure. That's not structure. The bottom of the lake is structure. Now as he moves on this structure, certain features at the bottom different from the surrounding area. He will move toward the shallows and he will pause or stop at a break in the structure. Now I say breaks or break lines. These are things, features on this bottom that he'll case the joint and move up to this spot, and he will pause or stop there. If he pauses, then he'll move up to another break. Then if he stops here, he may stop at 18 feet. A good sanctuary depth, every fish I catch, I look at him, I say, where did he come from? 30, 35 feet, if available. If not, you keep his water there. Certain weather conditions, he may start at 80 feet. But anyway, how long he stays at one of these things, controlled by the weather and water conditions, and most of the time this stinks. And he'll turn around and go back, so you don't make contact with him. Now, in order for us to catch fish, we control the depth and speed of our lures on the features that he is using in the migrations. Now, I didn't say you buy this, or you buy that, or you buy a wiggle, or you buy a color, or you buy a size. I said you control the depth and speed of lures on and around the features that the fish use in the migrations. Very simple. You put him in the boat. You don't care whether he's in the deep, in the shallows, or in between, as long as you can read the route the guy's taking. Most of the time, when a bass over 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds, and this kind of separates the tournament bass from the big bass. 2.5 pounds, from there on up, when he gets up around 8 to 10 feet in depth, he starts to say to himself, whoa, back up, I'm getting too shallow. Now the older he gets and the bigger he gets, the more your luck is to move up there. And you hardly ever get them. I've seen them come to 8 to 10 feet, but that's the shallowest I've ever seen in a group of fish. The deepest I've ever caught a bass is 125 feet. I don't want to even but in between I caught them all heads.
What you're saying flies in the face of what a lot of fishermen that are going to listen to this program believe. A lot of folks out there kind of bought there's some miracle new bait out or some miracle new equipment. They're good fishermen.
Yeah,
that's what you got to have. What you're saying is knowledge and technique.
It's you have to look at your lures and things, your rods and reels as tools for you to control your depth and speed. Now you got to be able to fish the shallows, the deep, and so in between. That's the reason back in the late 20s and the early 30s, I shaped me a tool to do this with. And later on I called it Spoonplugging. Now this lure allowed me to control my depth and speed, and it allowed me to do my mapping. It would talk to me downstairs and tell me what it, but fortunately,
This is
it'll
before,
catch
you
it.
did this before the days of the depth finder or the sonar or
Oh,
anything like that. That's what
exactly
people need
so.
to realize.
Well, today, with the depth finders and everything, it's a piece of cake. I had to learn all this and what made a fish tick by fishing. Now, you can't interpret structure, where this fish will be, by casting. You just can't do it. So then, that's when I learned that there's a technique of trolling. I'm about the only guy in the world that teaches trolling. The rest of the guys drag a lure through the water. Every move that you and I make is for a reason. It's talking to you, the lure's talking to you, you're mapping, you're feeling the bottom, you're feeling the shape of the structure, and if you know the structures that the fish use and you can feel the shape of, then you immediately say, he's got to be here. I've done it so long I can look at the weather, and I look at the color of the water, and I can look at the features, and I just about determine when the fish is going to move and how shallow it comes, and what feature is going to be used.
Now, once you locate the fish by trolling, are you going to continue catching them by trolling?
Well, no, I recommend when you know where this fish is. Let's say that in the trolling you checked out the shallow, and say you hit the fish at 17 feet on a feature. Then I go straight to the cast. When big fish move and become active and move up on the structure, you don't have all day to mess with him. You've got to hit him in the boat. And I found out if you continue to troll, or if you use a light line like a spinning gear and fight this fish too long, the maximum fish you're going to get out of that school of big bass, for instance, or walleyes, is maybe 7 over a long period of time. Most of the time you get 2 or 3. But if you continue the troll, you're going to waste too much time. So when you hit that fish in the troll and you recognize, throw your marker, drop the anchor, and go to the cast. Jack will feel yes, you got in the first cast. Listen to this big for yes. But the most fish that I've ever caught after I went to the troll cast, I locate most of my fish on the troll because I'm mapping. Why should I cast the shoreline for 5 hours to find out whether there's any fish in there? I control it for 10 minutes and say there's no fish in there. You want to tell a fish story?
Sure.
I got a lot of them.
Okay. I saw that.
I was the head of the biology department down at the University of Florida. He wanted to go fishing, so I took him fishing, went in this lake, and I just trolled, looked at small lures up against the weeds, and there took me about 15 minutes. And then I went out on the bar and anchored the boat. And I said, now watch, I'm going to cast the fish out there. And I'm going to cast toward the center of the lake. The fish are, there's no fish back in the shallows. He says, well, what do you mean there's no fish back in the shallows? Pointing back toward the shoreline. I said, man, I just got through fishing. As far as I'm concerned, with my depth and speed control and using the tools that I use, the spoonplug, if I fish that water and I don't catch it, as far as I'm concerned, he ain't there. You can, as far as I'm concerned, try same, you might catch it. So I said, I'm going to cast out here. And he says, well, why do you cast at that particular spot there? I said that the fish are deeper than we've been able to fish. And I'm going to wait for them to come. This happened many times. You have to wait after you interpret the structure. And I said, he says, you mean to say that you cast at that spot right there? And the fish going to come right there? I said, yeah. He said, you mean to tell me it's about 10 miles of lake up this way, 10 miles of lake down there, and they're going to pass that point? I said, yeah. And he said, you just shook his head. He said, okay, what time is it? He looked at his watch and said, now time. cast, something over to the bottom plug, and they were retreat on the bottom. There was nothing there. Well, we had a sound next time there once in a while, I think cat. Finally, he talked, sat there, and he wanted to move on. I said, no, you're going to sit right here. And I made the cast, thing go pop off. 2 hours and 14 minutes he moved. I made consecutive casts and put 8 in the boat. The fish moved right up on the boat, and after they following his story, he was working too slow, they turned around and dropped off. That was the end. Now I said, believe me, he didn't ever really say it. He just shook his head. That's all he did.
Well, let me ask you a question. A lot of folks believe that the tournament bass fishermen are the best fishermen around, and they always catch the most fish if they're going to be on the lake or something. Of course, what you're talking about is a lot different than the way they fish. What do you think about that fish?
I'm not going to put this on radio.
Okay.
I make enough enemies. I don't want
Well,
lake fishing
I think
when
I
they're on
agree
the
with
lake.
you. I think I agree with what you say anyway.
You want me to shoot somebody on the lake?
Okay. I forgot what I was going to ask.
No, I tell you, this is, I could use all kinds of words on this, but you've heard the old saying, if ignorance is bliss, there'd be a lot of bliss to learn. That's strong in my mind.
Well, let's be fair. They're good at reeling in the money. I think that's about as fair. I think what I turn this program off just now. One of the reasons we did this program is we thought there was too much emphasis on the tournament bass fishing. And we're obviously by talking to you and people like you, we're aiming at a whole different audience and the typical tournament people.
Completely and so.
Yeah. Yes,
And, but they do get a lot of credit because they get the publicity. I think they've done a lot of damage.
Well, you don't see too many big bass caught in tournaments.
Oh, of course not, because they're fishing for those. They don't know where to look for the big fish. And as far as consecutive casts, the most I've ever made consecutive casts after anchor hitting one deep water above 3 pounds, 49 pounds. That's the first thing was fish. And I did in Georgia one time, I did 33 with about 200 people watching. I did 41 in Arkansas a couple of years ago with tournament boys watching.
They ask you questions afterwards?
Oh yeah. One of them came up and I had found a little school of bass and it was always about 50 bass boats in that tournament. I didn't know this there. I got on the lake and did some mapping. And I found a little group and the bass was running, they was running about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. So I was working on out, got out in the deep water. All these boys went back in the trees. You couldn't even see them. All you could see, they just disappeared in the trees. So I went down in the open water and I didn't think I'd see anybody. And at 21 feet, I hit a good bass. I made anchor and went to the cast. Casting over a brake line like this, sinking, coming, bumping the brake line. Every time I bumped the brake line, one had taken. I did 41 without missing one. And I looked up and here come a big bass boat moving closer to it. And they got out in the open water, started casting, and I watched them just casting over a very big mud flat. They could have cast there 6 months and never caught fish. So I just waved and I said, boys, come on over. And they came on over, and when I left that little spot up in pretty close in the shallows, where I found these little fish, I just threw out a little fork about that big with a little weight on it. So I finally got them to come over. They was hesitant to come. I said, come on, boys, they're over here. They didn't know who it was, and never did know. So they finally got over there, and the guy said, they saw me throwing these bass off. I catch one, throw them back over my head. They throw them back over my head. So they came up, and they anchored right over here, and the guy says, is that your little cork over there? Over young? And I said, yes, they saw my little marker where I was throwing. And I said, yeah. And they said, but I said, I left it because it's just small fish. And he says, well, that's where I won the Arkansas opening last year. I said, well, the fish are right out there. And one of them was casting a worm and one was casting a thinker. I mean, several. So they started casting out there. And said, I know they're there because I just caught one. I said, now quit. But don't cast me in the sea. Cast me go down to the oops, yeah, they still are. I ran them in and I threw it back over my head. And they, about the 5th cast, they got it. They just kept it. And every caught fish. And during that period of them trying to catch one, I said, let me check it. 5 times I checked it. I got 5 fish. They were still there. And they were still casting those that spinnerbait and that worm out. So I just took the spoon plug and I threw it across the boat. I said, take this off. So one of the guys took it and he put it on his line and he made a cast. Then he get it out there. And then he said, I said, mister, you're not fishing a worm. I said, get the speed, now watch me. And I made the cast. And I hit, and I said, now lower that rod tip, and I said, let it sink to the bottom. And I said, here, wind it up. So he did it, and he finally got his rod tip down. And I said, wind it up. And he gritted, and I said, wind it up. You're going too slow. And the other guy was sitting there. So then about the 5th cast after my 5th fish, he finally got one out there, and I said, now let it go. Hold it up, get the rod tip down, drop your rod tip. Now slowly sink that line so you don't lift the lure off the bottom and start to crank. And really wind her up. He did it, boom, he had one. He caught 5 fish and his partner took his lure away from him. So I said, I gotta go, boy, give him my lure. So they cast him, I took it away from him. Stuck it in my box. And then later I was at the boat dock, I was in the motorhome, and I heard they came in, I heard these 2 guys talking. The only thing I remembered he said, it was the deadliest thing I ever saw. So that was the difference between that. So that's been the story of these guys. I could tell you some other stories that I'm afraid some of the bass boys love to hear.
Well, I don't know if they'll be listening or not, but let me ask you something else. A lot of our listeners are going to want to look into this, and obviously this isn't something they can just go down to the corner store and buy it and go out and catch fish. It's going to take some effort and some persistence and whatnot. Tell them how to get
quite
started.
a lot of material. I have what I call a basic book, and I have written about 11 in all. I have what I call a basic book, telling you what spoon plugging is, and a little basic presentation of lures. And this can be bought, the stores, it can be bought at the plant. And that's in Hickory, North Carolina. I don't know of any in Knoxville, in that area.
Well, have you got a phone number that you can give folks?
704.
I don't know what I want to get. They
Well,
wake me up in the
shop
middle of the night. Listen, they wake me up in the middle of the night.
The shop
No,
number.
I'm talking about the shop, where they can buy some stuff. Not your number. No, I wouldn't give it either.
Is area code 704 322 2157. Now, my advice to them, if they call and if they write me, Buck Perry, P.O. Box 66, Hickory, North Carolina, 328
603.
603. 28603. Yep. And ask for literature if you want to. Or if they can make inquiry on the book, on the instructional material, then I will send it to them. This is what it's called a basic book, though. I talked to one of my spoon pluggers here. He said he must have been on about the 80th reading on it. And every time he reads, he picks up something else. This is so what people have been used to. I found out way back there in the 20s, up in the 30s, and then after World War II, I started preaching. That about everything about fishing is opposite from what people thought. Instead of fishing clear water, I want to fish dirty water. Instead of fishing a bright sunny day, I want to fish a rainy day, a dark day. Instead of casting toward the shoreline, I cast away from the shoreline. Instead of going slow, fast. So it's just all down the line. Instead of the home of the fish in the shallow bass, he's downstairs. Now, I use the bass as the teacher. The bass not only are universal fish all over. You might ask me, well, how about walleyes and so on? Well, if you can consistently catch bass wherever you go, he's tough. And due to his reaction to weather and water conditions, that's what it is. And you can do this and learn consistently how to do this. Don't worry about the other species, because if they get in the way, it's just their bad luck. So I use the bass for the simple reason he's the most difficult. It's as far as I'm concerned, if I went to Milwaukee or somewhere fishing and I want to attract some attention, I'd go after the bass. His reaction to weather and water conditions is so severe that most of the time people will fail. Some guys will fish 10 years and never catch a 5-pound bass. Quite a few of those so-called boys, they've never caught one.
Right. And when we were off the air a minute ago, you said something, I want to follow up on that, that fishing is just not about catching fish, it's a family sport. And I kind of want to hear a little bit about your philosophy about what fishing is.
Well, I think it is. This spoon plugging enables the inexperienced, the women. I'm the only one teaching trolling. This allows the family group to catch fish. It allows the youngsters and the women who have never fished before to start catching fish. And pretty soon a little youngster will catch more than these so-called boys and experts. And the women, they give the husbands just a real thing. And I've been up this cap I was up at in Minnesota, some of the boys making talk to King Fair up there a couple of years ago. I must have had 25 to 50 couple old people come by and said, you made our old age. And you can ask some of these older spoon pluggers around here and they'll tell you the same thing. They're having fun. And so fishing is, as far as I'm concerned, is a recreational sport. And it's knowledge is the key. It's not some $10,000 bass ball. It's not all the electronic gimmicks that time you get through looking at them and all that stuff. You don't have time to do any fishing.
I can't do it. Good to see you. I've got Jefferson. I tried to get it. I tell you, a good system not to come out. They only have this way. They push it. I know. Skin will hold together. Take a piece of it and mix it.
In other words, I never didn't run long enough to check to see where it had to be when it was under the boat. See, if you had a signal that goes straight down, you have to always start reading over here and you're out here with the boat. So you can, how are we going to keep the spoon float from winning all the tournaments? I said there's no way. They said, yeah, but you have it. So we just kept on, I said. I don't know. And finally I said, okay. I said, we didn't have the epitaph, we didn't have the trolling as a teacher, it's the map. It's a teacher. For you to teach structure, recognize structure and everything is trolling. It's a teacher. Teach you to be at the right place, the right time, and fishing right now. It teaches you where to cast and when. The trolling does. So it's a teacher. So I said, okay, just don't allow the troll. And I said, the spoon plug can still win it, because he'll go out the day before and he'll map it and he'll still win every time the cast. Because you go to the cast after you locate the fish. And if you locate the structure, all you got to do is sit on it and know about when to move and go ahead and win the tournament. But I said, I don't think this will last long because they're not competitive fishermen. you're dictating to him how he can fish. And I said, okay, I don't think he'll put up, but pretty soon he'll just quit. But I told him, I said, now take warning. If you limit trolling, and you're telling people how to troll, not to troll, pretty soon you'll be dictating to them when to fish, how to fish, who to fish with, and what sight gear to use. What's that?
And then you turn it on, it won't do anything. Oh, I gotta send that. Oh, that one goes down. Okay. The other one sometimes works good and other times it don't. Yeah. Yeah, back up. I don't remember it for sure. No, you know what that is? 20. I guess I've been up there.
Yeah.
I still think that's the boat that you ought to buy rather than any of the other stuff.
It's ideal though, because it doesn't rock back and forth. You know, it's
It's
stable.
not rocky, but you're getting big waves and you still get splashed like